Hi guys, this is Mr. Tan, and today we're looking at hospitality operations, and we are focusing on the leadership and motivation because in the previous slides we looked at financial planning, we've looked at the costings, we've looked at pricing strategies, we've looked at the cash flow statement, profit and loss account, balance sheet, but really all of these things really depends on management operations, and it depends on the people, because the industry is highly invested in terms of people. So it's about getting the best out of your staff with leadership. So hence the reason why we need to review leadership and motivation as well, even though we've touched on these areas before. So the aim of this session is we should understand the difference between management and leadership. We need to understand the importance of developing employees and understand the motivations of employees and associated theoretical models. So the demands on the hotel manager, in terms of, owners, corporate office guests, employees, regulatory agencies and competitors. So in terms of the, dynamics of demand on hotel manager, the general manager, we're talking about accommodation services. We had the general manager at the top, and then you had various other managers like the operational manager, finance manager, marketing manager reporting into the general manager, and then various heads of departments on the different sections like front of house, attendees, food and beverage managers reporting into the operations manager. And the general manager then, he will have dynamics, in terms of ownership interests. You need to think about what the corporate office, will be saying to him, taking into consideration all the guests and the guest expectations and the guest experience cycle. He needs to take into consideration the employees, regulatory agencies, and what the competitors are doing. So these are going to all be the dynamics of demand on the hotel manager, or the general manager in this case, according to Walker 2006. So, a question put to yourselves: what do you think are the defining characteristics of leadership? What do you think shows, good characteristics of a good leader? If we look at Cole and Kelly 2011 and how they define leadership, they, define leadership as the process of influencing others to understand and agree about what needs to be done and how to do it, and the process of facilitating individual and collective efforts to accomplish shared objectives. So leadership is a dynamic process, and there is no one best way of leading. Leadership is essentially about striking the right balance between the needs of the people, the task, and goals in a given situation. What do you think about that definition? Do you agree with this? Do you not agree with it? Have a look at this definition a little bit in more detail. So, characteristics of good leaders. What are they? Are they proactive or reactive? Are we talking about flexible or adaptable? Good communicator, respectful, quiet confidence in them, enthusiastic, open-minded, resourceful, rewarding, well-educated, open to change, interested in feedback, evaluative, organized, consistent, a delegator, and uses initiative. So these could be some of the characteristics of a good leader. Types of leaders, we've got traditional, born into it, kings and queens. Situational, right place at the right time. Appointed, influence arises directly out of position, most managers or supervisors. And we have a functional type leader as well, who secures the leadership position by what he or she does, rather than the position they hold. They adapt their behavior to meet the current needs of the situation. So what makes a leader? Leadership determinants in terms of, so the leadership characteristics is going to obviously affect the leadership. The environmental context in terms of pastel, or the internal environment in terms of SWOT. follow characteristics, needs and attitudes, and the organizational context. So in terms of the determinants, you're going to be thinking about these things that are going to affect the different type of leadership that's required to or for given situations at given times. Transformational leadership, electing performance above normal expectations. 3 important factors: charismatic, individual consideration, intellectual stimulation. And with transformational leadership, it really this type of leadership, for bringing in change and change management. This person is charismatic. He has a vision, a mission. You like to be associated with this person, and this person tends to use a democratic, participative leadership style to get people involved, because he needs to bring people along for his vision, and he needs to empower them to actually do and carry out these tasks. Managers versus leaders. What's the difference? Do you think there are any? Do you think that they're the same thing? Consider: do leaders always manage, and do managers always lead? Can you list the characteristics of a manager and the characteristics of a leader, and perhaps review some of the similarities and differences between a leader and a manager? What do you think? I mean, for me, I suppose a manager's role is to plan, organize, delegate, and control, and it's to manage people to conduct a specific task. Whereas leaders, for me, are to inspire and motivate employees to carry out their tasks and functions in the most effective and efficient way. So let's look at some managers and leaders. So a manager, administers, is a copy, maintains, focuses on the system and structure, relies on control, has a short-term view, asks how and when, has an eye on the bottom line, initiatives, accepts the status quo, and does the right thing. Whereas the leader, according to Walker 2006, innovates, is an original. He develops, focuses on people, inspires the truth, has a long-range perspective, asks what and why, has an eye on the horizon, originates and challenges the status quo, and also does the right thing. So people development. So what do we mean? Why is personal development important to the individual and to the business? Why do you think? I mean, we've looked at various theories before. We've looked at Maslow and Herzberg, which we're going to touch upon here as well. Why is personal development so important? What are your views there to the individual and to the business? So, personal versus organizational development includes training, education, and promotion. But personal development, requires motivation. It requires that the employee doing this actually wants this training, wants this education, wants this promotion, if they're going to be motivated to go above and beyond what they're currently doing. So what is motivation? So motivation is a state arising in processes that are internal and external to the individual, in which the person perceives that it is appropriate to pursue a certain course of action or actions or a specific outcome, and in which the person chooses to pursue those outcomes with a degree of vigor or persistence, motivation to want to go and get something done. I mean, we've looked at and we've talked about the Hawthorne studies before, when 2 groups of ladies were taken out of a factory situation, and they put these ladies into a special climate, into a special room, to find out how they can increase productivity. And what they tried to do was to increase the light, and they monitored the work productivity, and they found that people's productivity had actually gone up So they thought, excellent, all we need to do is then to just increase the lighting everywhere and we're going to get increased productivity. But then they, as a controlled experiment, they decreased the light. They decreased the light to such an extent where the employees could hardly see what they were doing. And what do you think happened to the productivity of, those people? Did it go up or down? Well, the funny thing is, the productivity, even though they could hardly see, went up even higher. And the question is, well, what was motivating them? What was motivating these people to be more productive in less light and more productive than other workers in the factory where they were taken out from? Well, it came down to one thing, and it came down to the fact that these ladies felt important. And because they felt important, they were motivated to try and achieve and do the best they could. Because they felt special, they felt important, and so they were motivated. So again, motivation can lead to increased productivity and efficiencies in the long term. So, can you give examples of the characteristics of a motivated employee and an unmotivated employee? I mean, this question alone, it kind of springs up various images in my mind in terms of what a motivated person looks like, rushing around, trying to get things done, communicating, working with people, perhaps. An unmotivated person, slow, casual, not really bothered, not really communicating, perhaps. What do you think? So, why is motivation important to the workplace? I've kind of said it before, but, performance. So, the selection is related to performance, and you have rewards and a development which links into appraisal. And it's the performance in terms of why it's so important. I mean, if you increase one person's productivity and one person's efficiency, then in essence, one person could be doing more work than another person, or could be doing the same work as two people. I remember talking to one lady at Marks and Spencer's, and she worked in various retail clothing sections, and every so often Marks and Spencer's would have new ranges coming in. They would have a move, and they would have to re-merchandise. And they had big departments like Per Uno, ladies wear, and so on and so forth. And these departments would have to be re-merchandised according to plan. And when you've got limited space, then you need to kind of like go off plan, but trying to stay on plan. But when you don't have the space, you need to mix and match and make things work. And why is it then one person could relay a whole ladies' wears department in 2 hours or 3 hours, when it could take another person 8 hours? So and again, it comes down to motivation and what's important. Why does it take one person to do the same job literally half the time as someone else? And again, the person who's taking twice as long basically is being less productive, less efficient, and costing the company more money. So why is it important to the workplace? It's important because it cuts down your costs. Why should employees be developed? Because you want to get a return on your investment, progression of staff and organization. If people want to feel important, like the Hawthorne studies, people want to feel important, and because people are more motivated when they feel important and they feel that they're being recognized. Strengthening of the organization position within the marketplace. Your staff can make or break your business depending upon how your staff work. And this is obviously also a marketing concept, which is a mutually satisfying exchange at a profit in the long term, which means that you meet the customer's needs, you give them what they want, they give you what you want, which is money, a mutually satisfying exchange at a profit. So you're making a profit in the long term, so that the whole organization is working from a marketing perspective, because everyone is working effectively and efficiently, productively, and reducing the cost. You don't have 5 cleaners perhaps when you only need 3 motivated cleaners who can do the work of 5. So you're saving the company money, and then that money leads to more profits, and those profits leads to more investment in terms of new product development, new product design, greater customer satisfaction, and marketing spend to communicate to your customers, and so on and so forth. So, you strengthen the organization's position within the marketplace. You reduce staff turnover, again reducing costs in terms of training, recruiting, again reducing staff turnover, and making a more productive workforce, which leads to greater profits and efficiencies. So, how can employees be motivated? How can they be motivated? We can consider the financial side of motivation in terms of, the non-financial motivations in terms of job enlargement, job rotation, job enrichment, and team working and empowerment. Helping people to, become more in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, in terms of, love and belonging, self-esteem and self-actualization, in terms of job rotation and job enlargement and job enrichment. So helping them to achieve, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, team working and empowerment. We have financial motivations as well. Salaries, benefits in kind, fringe benefits, time rate pay, piece rate pay. You have commission, performance related pay, shares and options, and pensions. So if we think about motivation, there are different forms of motivations, which include, verbal gestures, which are intangible but still important, and written objectives, which are tangible, which I would say are equally as important as the intangible. Motivation and reward. When would you reward and motivate your workforce? When wouldn't you motivate and reward your workforce? So important. And is there a link? I believe in, recognizing and rewarding your workforce to, give them that additional incentive to want to achieve. Motivational theories. There are loads of motivational theories, but there's three here in terms of Herzberg's motivational theory, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and Locke's goal-setting theory. Herzberg's two-factor theory, where basically Herzberg was saying that there were satisfiers and dissatisfiers, or hygiene factors, and the satisfiers are those factors which motivated people, but on the other side of the coin there were hygiene factors, and those hygiene factors could dissatisfy someone even though they could be satisfied. So someone could be satisfied in their job, in enrichment, in terms of rotation and enlargement, but then they could be dissatisfied because they could feel they're not getting paid enough in terms of what they deserve. So again, you need to look between the two in terms of motivating factors and the hygiene factors. So Herzberg's motivation theory in terms of the motivators, the work itself, recognition's responsibility, achievement, growth and advancement, and then the hygiene factors, the facts that elements that can demotivate people, which include company policies and administration restricting and stopping people doing what they really would love to do, the salaries, not maybe getting the salary that employee feels they deserve for the work that they're doing, working conditions, the relationship with the supervisors, relationship with peers, relationship with subordinates, and security and status. And then we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which we've touched upon before. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you had the psychological needs at the bottom in terms of food, water. The next you had safety needs, that people need to feel safe and secure in terms of what they're doing. The next level is love and belonging, that people actually want to go to work to socialize and to meet other people. And then the next level is the self-esteem needs in terms of job satisfaction, progression, enlargement, enrichment. And then at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you had self-actualization, where someone is complete and met all their satisfying, and they're highly motivated doing what they love to do. But what Maslow said was, unless you met the lower needs in terms of the psychological and safety needs, you cannot achieve the higher needs in terms of love, self-esteem and self-actualization, because they must first make sure that you've met the lower needs before an employee can meet the higher needs. And so here we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs: psychological needs, safety needs, love and belonging needs, self-esteem needs, and self-actualization. And then the lower needs in terms of basic wage or salary, working conditions, safety needs in terms of pension, job security, health insurance, love and belonging in terms of, working in a group, acceptance, professional affiliations, and supportive supervisor. And then you have esteem needs in terms of title, promotion, awards, or other forms of recognition. And then you have the self-actualization in terms of, learning new skills, solving difficult problems, and accomplishing a goal. And then we have Locke's goal, setting theory. And here, employees are set goals and are motivated by the reward and or recognition that accompanies the achievement. So we have the MBO, TQM. Employees are more likely to achieve goals they help to set. So with the goal setting theory, so specific and difficult goals set by the management and associates, and then goals are presented for acceptance, and associate has to buy into these goals. Associates and management work together to meet or exceed the goals, and then resulting in higher level of output. So it's setting the goals which are realistic and then getting acceptance. But if you don't get the acceptance, then you're not really going to achieve people to be motivated to want to actually achieve these goals. If they don't think it's realistic, it's not going to be workable. So people kind of like disengage with it. So it needs to be realistic, and you need to have good leaders as well, leading people and selling the vision and getting people on board with it as well. So trends in motivation, includes understanding the emotional aspects. I've talked about this before in the earlier sessions in week 5 in terms of the emotive side in terms of leadership and the emotional side and linking in that aspect. Understand increased globalization, develop employee skills and knowledge, and operate learner, telecommuting and critical labor shortages as well. These are some trends in motivations. Additional trends include, increased focus on employee retention, keeping the employees, because they've learnt up so much knowledge and skill and experience, and now if someone has to leave, they have to learn all that again. You have to train them, and it costs more, and the learning curve takes longer. So again, it's costing the company more money. Increased use of flexi time. Food and beverage management positions are difficult to fill. Fewer people with basic skills. Legal issues are bringing increased concern, and training has become increasingly more important. Training is very, very important. So in summary, we've tried to understand the difference between management and leadership. We've tried to understand the importance of developing the employees in terms of trying to get them motivated to be more productive, enjoy what they're doing, be more efficient in reducing the overall costs of your profit and loss account, and understand the motivations of employees and associated theoretical models. We looked at various models, Herzberg's, Maslow's, and so on and so forth. So I hope that's helped today. Thank you today from Mr. Tan.